It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. But we preach Christ crucified, unto the Jews a stumbling block, and unto the Greeks foolishness. Paul clearly teaches us that preaching is the appointed method of informing those in the world around us of God's saving grace. The preaching of the gospel is here referred to as foolishness because sometimes, to certain people, the gospel doesn't make any sense. But there's something else that doesn't make any sense either. As laymen, in our fervent attempt to generate a successful pulpit ministry, sometimes we may tend to take things too far. Our motives may sometimes become skewed, and our methods sometimes erode into utter sacrilege. In this edition, we'll discuss the difference between the foolishness of preaching and the preaching of foolishness on today's Layman's Guidepost. Not everyone enters into ministry with the right motives or with the right methods. In our age of glitz, glamour, and CEOs, in some quarters, many of the more noble and spiritual aspects of ministry have been lost. Hence, it's important that we who intend to fulfill a more ideal objective in spreading the gospel be careful not to replace the foolishness of preaching with just plain foolishness. Over the next few minutes, I'd like to briefly review some of the false motives and false methods of ministry. This will help us to understand the difference between what Paul was speaking of when he referred to the foolishness of preaching and what I'm speaking of when I talk about the preaching of foolishness. Let's begin by talking about foolish motives. Some people get into lay preaching for the purpose of getting attention from other people. Perhaps in their personal lives, no one may be paying attention to them, thus they feel neglected at home or in their community. Maybe they weren't known for being the most vocal person, and preaching becomes an opportunity for them to feel accepted by others. In other instances, people get into preaching because they're natural talkers. They have what's known as the gift of gab, and they think because of that, they have the gift of preaching. On the contrary, being a great speaker and being an effective preacher are not particularly the same things. Some people get into preaching because they enjoy the thrill of manipulation. This deep-set desire to control other people sometimes is indicative of borderline psychopathic tendencies. The irony of it all is that in the greatest society, when people have an insatiable desire to control other people, is considered to be a mental illness. In dysfunctional religious circles, when people desire to control the spirituality of other people, it's called a call from God. This is a falsehood that amounts to mere foolishness. While effective preaching will doubtlessly have a very personal impact on other people, it should not be done so in an attempt to control the spiritual lives of other people. Listen. No matter how good you get at your sermonic delivery, you will never be able to replace the Holy Spirit. Don't try. Some people get into lay preaching for the sake of exacting vengeance on people they do not like. All these types want to do is get a bully pulpit to use as a whipping board to get back at people. Many sermons have been given with retribution as the primary motive. Past hurt, past anger, and present insecurities can often lead people to want to somehow take action. These deficiencies, which we often need to be delivered from, are turned into fuel for taking the sacred helm of the pulpit. Do not mistake mere vengeance and insecurity as a call to preach. And now we move to the foolish methods. Some lay preachers try to use shock jocking as a method for preaching. Originating from the secular morning radio talk show world, shock jocking is defined as a style of holding the audience's attention by use of humor and melodramatic exaggeration in an attempt to get ratings. In an effort to get attention, some lay people are drawn to controversial statements and needlessly provocative subject matter. These kinds of preachers believe that by speaking on such things, they'll stand out from the rest of the pack and be heralded by people as a truly distinctive character. But in my experience, shock jockers usually only do just that, shock. They may shock, but they rarely actually help people. People do not need to be shocked. They need to be taught and inspired. Some lay preachers try to use entertainment as a method for preaching. There are many talented souls in the preaching ministry who are excellent speakers and have a wonderful sense of humor. They're good in front of audiences, and they have very appealing personalities that lead them to employ preaching strategies that heavily emphasize entertainment-oriented gimmicks. This strategy may involve humorous vocabulary, stage props, audience participation, and other colorful approaches to communicating the message. While none of these particular strategies are wrong in themselves, when taken too far, they become a distraction to the tone and atmosphere of a worship service. And what's designed to be an aid to the communication of the gospel often results in its implosion. In such case, the method is a distraction to the very message it seeks to convey and should be immediately discarded. Some lay preachers try to conflate classic preaching with racial, political, and social activism. Activism, while good and positive in the communities, is not the same thing as spreading the gospel. We live in a day and age where the line is being blurred between preachers and community activists. We often think that because both have the potential to do good in the community, that they are particularly the same thing. They are not. Politics has no place in the pulpit. Social activism is not the same thing as spiritual activism. Great caution should be exercised to avoid blurring the lines between either of these two functions. Correct motives for preaching the gospel are always unselfish, wholesome, spiritual, and dignified. If all you're going to do is try to manipulate and control other people by speaking on behalf of God, you probably need to be questioning whether you should be in the pulpit altogether. Instead of using the pulpit to focus on getting back at people who've offended you, focus on being positive and constructive in your preaching. In essence, you should preach a wholesome, unifying message that will unify the congregation, that will encourage people, that will inspire, not make them feel like that they're coming up before a firing squad. We should always preach out of inspiration and never out of sheer hurt. And lastly, while we should definitely take a look within to purify our motives, we should not do so without looking without to cultivate our methods. Instead of shock jockeying the audience, teach them the truth as it appears in scriptures. In a world filled with darkness and confusion, just the plain truth will be shocking enough, believe me. Instead of espousing entertainment-oriented approaches, most of which tend to create a more common and crude atmosphere, focus on a higher ideal. Preach sobering messages that inspire, teach, and guide people in a practical way. Leave the entertainment to the entertainers and let the preachers preach. Instead of exacting vengeance to get back at people, teach the grace of God in all its beauty and teach people to live and think higher. Rise above church conflict. Rise above community hatred. Rise above personal vendettas and show people the goodness of God in all its glory. You see, if we tell the truth in a positive, sobering way and do it without personal malice or selfish agendas, lives are going to be changed. The preacher's influence over the congregation will naturally increase as people are blessed by his sermons. It is in this state of mind that lay ministers are at their best. As lay preachers, we're called to give sobering and inspirational messages to the masses. Since this message is in a great sense a message from God, we should be sensitive and tactful in how we deliver it to the public. Keeping our messages practical, biblical, and spiritual is the key to perfecting the sacred art of the foolishness of preaching and avoiding the fallacy of the mere preaching of foolishness.
If you enjoyed this program and you'd like to see more, subscribe to this page. Also, please remember to like this video and be sure to share this video with others who could use this information. Finally, you can request a copy of my training workbook, The Layman's Guide to Biblical Preaching, a 7-step plan. Just click on the link below. This indispensable tool will take you step by step through the process of writing each one of your sermons in a clear and easy to understand way. Learn the secret to delivering powerful sermons and lessons today. And as always, for the Layman's Guidepost, I'm Thomas Hardy.